You're listening to The Legal Hour with Keith Spencer on News Talk 820 WBAP.
Hey, if you got a traffic ticket, don't let it jack up your insurance rates. Contact Bailey and Gallion and keep that ticket off your driving record. Call us at 800-LAW-8008 right now and find out what we can do for you. It is the holiday season. A couple of shopping days left for Christmas, and I've done a lot of shopping myself.
Oh, I need to get started.
Yeah.
It's the 25th this year. I keep trying to remind people. But
the holiday season always brings with it Christmas cheer. And sometimes folks have too much Christmas cheer. And sometimes folks have parties and serve too much Christmas cheer. And then things get interesting. There is a time to be happy and a time to be careful. And you can mix the two. It's okay. And we have another joyous occasion this time of year is all the corporate Christmas parties. How many people do you think lose their jobs over the corporate Christmas parties every year?
Well, with a big company, it's an annual part of it. I mean, really, you
that's downsizing.
Well, you really do. You have people that are not there to experience the great plans for the company in the new year because they got involved in some stuff around the Christmas party and having to do with the Christmas party that cost them their job.
And some of those Xerox machines will never be the same.
Yeah, that was what was coming to mind on playing part in the Christmas party is, does this involve a Xerox machine and parts of the backside?
Bob, what kind of liability are people looking at if you throw a holiday party and you overserve your guests and then hand them their car keys?
I think certainly there is the moral responsibility, and I think there's a very great responsibility on the civil side where Scott can come and get you. I suppose there could be a criminal responsibility of knowingly or over-serving someone, that there could be some criminal responsibility. I think the majority of it's going to be on the civil side. But
we saw a few serious cases in the last few years, particularly where some minors were involved and some alcohol poisoning was involved.
Right. And that's I suppose that's, there are some things you can do to prevent that. There's lots of things you could do to prevent it, but some of the really simple things, stop serving alcohol at least an hour before the party's over. Make sure that you've got arrangements to give everybody a ride home, so that everybody can enjoy as much Christmas cheer as they want to. And if there's any question at all, then get them a ride home.
Spring for a dip. I like the spinach dip and the bread bowl myself.
Yeah, although, seriously, do something that's got some protein in it, because the starchy foods can actually accelerate the absorption of alcohol into the bloodstream. So you should really do something more like the cheese or the meat or the little cocktail weenies that Homer Simpson is so fond of.
Scott, do you see much civil litigation over these holiday dram shop issues?
Fortunately, not as much as you might think. I've noticed really in the last probably 10 years that the hosts of these parties, particularly the corporate hosts, have been a lot more in tune with the potential for legal liability. They don't want somebody like me knocking at their door if one of their guests goes out and kills somebody. Mm-hmm. So social hosts, both on a corporate level and on a family or personal level, are really more in tune with the law and seem to be acting more, what I would say, responsibly in that area in the last 10 or so years.
Okay. The other thing we always see this time, we see Christmas tree fires where people are trying to stuff that Christmas tree into a fireplace and outrun it. And fried turkeys. I think 75 houses burned down in this country over Thanksgiving from the fried turkey getting away from them, and they haven't measured it properly, and the oil spills out and ignites. And
do these people do the turkey inside their houses? That's what I've always wondered.
Or they're using gasoline. I'm not sure.
And I'm just thinking, when you think delicious turkey, you think deep fried.
Well, I'll tell you what happens, because we actually did this over the holiday. My brother-in-law in Midland, who takes on such projects, he's kind of the Tim the Tool Man, of such things. And it really does taste good. If you do it right, it really is delicious. And I won't go into detail with you because I'm not that in touch with my culinary side. But what happens is it started snowing. And it's a real fun outdoor activity till it starts snowing too much. And not only does it kind of get to be a bother, but you also are lowering the temperature of the turkey, which you can't do. The snow was keeping it from getting as hot as it needed to. So you move that delicately under the eaves or into the garage. Same thing happens in the summer. You'll get a little rain shower and so-and-so's fired up the grill. Pretty soon they fired up the house. And a lot of times what it is, people don't have any idea how fast. We need to get a firefighter on sometime to testify. They don't have any idea how fast a fire gets out of control, how there's a little compression explosion or a little bit of splattered grease or a little bit of a burp, if you will, in either the propane system or whatever system you're using. And it's completely out of control in such a short period of time. And you're right, it happens all the time.
Well, and you can't pick up that bucket, a flaming bucket, and run out to the yard with it. It doesn't work well.
No, I think the broom's a bad idea, too. I mean, pretty much everything you do to try to make it better endangers you more. And that's why space heaters, of course, tragically, over this holiday season, we will have people who are, for the most part, the least of these. They do not have a lot, and they're trying to keep somewhat warm during a cold holiday night. They'll put that a little bit too close to the curtain, or they'll put it and unfortunately you have folks, and we will this season too, that'll lose their lives because of that. And it's tragic, and part of the reason it's so tragic is it's avoidable. You can take some fairly simple precautions and keep that from happening.
Absolutely. Let's go to Arlington and Randy. Randy, welcome to the Legal Hour. Randy, are you with us?
Well, I sure am. I didn't hear my name.
How are you today?
I'm doing good. Second time, long time. You still need a second hour.
Okay. Appreciate it.
My question is, with police not responding to minor accidents, what if you come across a motorist that is clearly their fault, and they're either uninsured or underinsured? Will the police respond then, or what should you do?
That's a good question, and it really depends on the department. Some departments are now enforcing the insurance laws by themselves and towing vehicles of uninsured drivers from the scenes of accidents. Yes. The underinsured issue, that's a separate issue, which brings me to a good point. Buy underinsured or uninsured motorist coverage, because I promise you, you're going to need it, and it costs so little to have it. Buy it. You're going to need it, I guarantee you. But as far as somebody not being able to produce an insurance card, they may be insured, they may not be. The most important thing that you do is you get their driver's license information, their driver's license number, date of birth, their current address. Make sure you get their tag numbers, because you can trace them by tags. And whatever other identification, get their business card.
Their date of birth.
Definitely get their date of birth and their driver's license number and a business card if they have one.
Write down as much as you can. I've had too many people come in and say, well, I got his phone number, but that was his cell number and it's been disconnected and we can't find him. So write down as much information as you can in those circumstances. And for goodness sake, when you have one of these situations, we see it, weekly. Pull off the road, get away from the road. We've been seeing so many people getting hammered by drunk drivers because they're assisting someone else on the roadway.
Yeah. Well, people also, they want to reconstruct it, don't they, Scott? They want to let the world see, well, this is exactly the position my car was in this intersection when he caught my, and you're like, hey, this is not a time to be an accident reconstructionist. It's a time to get you and your family off the side of the road.
That's right. That's right. And if it's a serious enough wreck in an intersection, the police are going to come out and investigate it, because somebody will have called and said, "Man, the car is just demolished. I don't know if anybody's hurt," but they're not going to make a judgment call as to whether somebody's hurt. They're going to come out and investigate it. But if you have a rear ender on the highway, by all means, clear the cars off the road. There's usually not much question as to whose fault it is or who's responsible. Just make sure you get proper identification from the other driver.
And don't be afraid to disagree with the insurance company when they tell you that based on their 30-second telephone conversation with their insured, you obviously ran into him with the side of your car. Don't be afraid to challenge that. It's you've got 2 years, right, after the accident to get legal assistance if you need to and file a lawsuit.
2 years to file a lawsuit.
All right. Randy, thank you for your call.
Well, and thank you, and keep up the good work.
Well, we appreciate you.
And Merry Christmas.
You too
Merry
now.
Christmas to you.
We were talking in the news this week. There was a lot of legal news that came down. The Duke lacrosse prosecutor got disbarred. Hallelujah. And actually agreed with it and accepted disbarment and fessed up that he'd handled things improperly. Merck is settling the Vioxx suits for $4.85 billion with a B dollars. If that actually goes through, there are some strings attached to it where all of the plaintiffs have to agree before it actually goes into effect. The Supreme Court's getting ready to hear an age discrimination case over the intake forms of all things. The intake forms that are required for the administrative law judge to determine whether or not you've been discriminated against have been alleged to be so discriminatory on their face that only 5% of these claims ever make it forward. And so the Supremes are going to look into that. There's a new holiday visitation schedule that the legislature's adopted in family law cases, and this one's a little controversial. School keeps getting out later and later and later before Christmas, and as a result, they're moving the exchange date on Christmas holidays for divorced parents to the 28th, which is intended to try and even up the time for folks. It's just really cumbersome for folks with young children who, they want Santa to come to both houses, and so most folks are opting to agree to split the holidays where one parent has Christmas Eve and the other one has Christmas Day, and then they'll even it out a little bit further down the road. The Fed is tightening up some lending rules, and when we come back after our break, Jay, I want to ask you about this new proposal. Given the subprime mortgage crisis that we're facing, there's a new proposal in front of the House to allow bankruptcy judges to modify the terms of mortgage loans for people in their courts. You're listening to WBAP.